protein in here. No? Are you sure? Are you sure you're not protein deficient? Who here has been asked where they get their protein? Okay. Enough said. So, all plant-based foods contain protein if they're from the whole food, right? The reason we had so much confusion was in the 1980s we did some research on rats. Rats have an extra amino acid in their needs, what wasn't in the plant-based foods. This led to confusion. The author himself or herself put an editorial saying I was wrong, but everyone kind of forgot that, and we still have this myth today. Frustrating, I know. However, so how much protein do we need? We need about 10% of our calorie intake, or kind of less. So the healthiest populations have around that 5 to 10%, and it kind of depends on your needs a little. If you're an athlete, you're going to have slightly higher protein requirements than someone that's sedentary all day, because protein basically rebuilds your muscles and your cells. That's its main purpose. But generally, it's not going to be a lot. It's probably, for most women, 45 grams is sufficient. No, for most women, 35 grams is sufficient, and 45 grams is sufficient for men. So it really doesn't take much. But on a vegan diet, to be optimal, there is one amino acid called lysine. Now, lysine is really high in meat. So as a meat eater, you get it very easily. On a vegan diet, it's mainly found in things like lentils and legumes, amaranth, pistachios, and seeds, quinoa. So this amino acid is slightly lower in plant food, so if you're just kind of eating a lot of kind of greens and rice, you may not get that optimal. But if you just add kind of literally half a cup of beans or legumes a day, or tofu, or some nuts or seeds, you'll get that lysine requirement. In fact, basically, if you get enough lysine in your diet, I guarantee you'll always get enough protein. So that's just the thing to keep in mind. Always have that kind of range of foods in your diet. Look at the gorilla. He's massive. He's grass with that. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is just what about the gut. So this is really exciting, basically. And this is where the research is heading. The research is a little bit up and down, but basically what we know is we can literally turn on and off genes by changing the gut bacteria. We can take bacteria from an obese rat, no, not very vegan, sorry, and then put it into a slim rat, and that slim rat will get obese. And then we can take the bacteria from a lean rat and put it in an obese rat, and the obese rat will become lean. And so basically we're born with appearance bacteria, so that kind of the bacteria we're born with kind of grows, and that can predispose us to certain ways of obesity. But if we eat heaps of fibre, maybe take the odd probiotic, we can actually change those genes, and by changing those genes we can stop the gene for breast cancer switching on. We can stop the gene for prostate cancer switching on, for Alzheimer's switching on. Maybe. Alzheimer's is a bit interesting. Was really amazing. And this is why fibre is so important. Like you should literally be trying for at least 35 grams a day of fibre, absolute minimum. Personally, I have about 80 to 100. Increase that slowly, or you're going to be going to the toilet a lot, and you're going to be very gassy, and you may get kicked out of the house. But there's every single long living population in the world eats a lot of beans. Beans are very healthy, they're very high in fibre, they're very high in prebiotics, the fibre that really loves the gut. And this is one of the main reasons that whole food plant-based diet is definitely the best diet. If you eat foods like animal products, refined sugars, refined oils, this changes the gut bacteria, and the consequences we don't quite know yet, but it's definitely correlates significantly to basically all causes of disease.
And soak your beans before you
Yes.
It leads to less gassing.
Or sproutlings. Sproutling's really good. So, all this information, I thought I'd put it together a little bit in simple form to see how it kind of works together. So, focus on plant foods that are close to the original source as possible. Alright? If you do most of your shopping in the veggie store, I can nearly guarantee you're going to be having a pretty healthy diet. Eat plenty of starch, right? The biggest mistake people do when they turn to a vegan diet is they don't eat enough good sugars. So starch is things like brown rice, potato, oats. These are slow release sugars opposed to fast release sugars, and that allows you a long-term energy release. If you don't eat enough starch, your sugars will just spike, you'll feel tired, you'll be hungry, you won't get satiated. Ensure plenty of greens. Try to eat greens like 3 times a day if you can. The more greens you eat, the better you're going to be, the healthier you're going to be. I've written quite a few nutritional plans. I can guarantee it's pretty much impossible to write adequate nutrients in the diet without getting in quite a few greens. There's nothing better than greens. Even if you have to add a little bit of sugar or a little bit of fruit with them, fruit's actually good, but you know what I mean? Just get those greens in and you will feel far better off. And eat a can of beans. So, beans are amazing. They also contains things called ligands, and ligands stunt sugar spikes, and even like post-meal, like 6 hours after. So if you're eating regular beans, your blood levels become really stable, and that gives you a constant energy release right throughout the day. When our sugar levels drop, our brain kind of picks up a signal and goes, "What's up?" and gives you food cravings. Also, if your sugar levels are going up, down, this inhibits the body's utilisation of fat and makes it really hard to lose weight. The last thing is add some like chia, flax or walnuts for omega-3s in the diet. So omega-3s are really healthy, but they are a little bit lower in a vegan diet. There is a bit of research. It was only a case study, so we haven't done long-term randomised trials yet. Randomised trials is like the epitome of research. It basically tells you we can be pretty much sure that there was no bias in this. It's really good research. But there is some case studies that will show that as soon as you decrease your kind of overall fat consumption, your ALA, what is a form of omega-3 in plants, gets converted a lot more easily, leading to completely fine levels of omega-3 in the blood. So literally just kind of like 1 tablespoon of flaxseed a day or chia seeds, or maybe like 6 walnuts, will give you sufficient fats for your body to utilise. These fats also help the joints in the brain. They make you smarter. They decrease ADHD in children. Fantastic to have. And lastly, if you're a long-term vegan, look at supplementing with B12. This is from a bacteria in the soil, and one, we have very low cobalt in New Zealand, so B12, we're just not going to get it. 2, the industrialisation of fruit and veggies has meant most of it gets washed off, so we have no intake.
Also, as a meat eater, B12 deficiency.
A lot of our animals in New Zealand are actually supplemented it, so
yeah,
if you're either eating something that's got supplements in it, or you take the supplement yourself.
Yeah, the highest percentage of people that are actually deficient are people over 50 in B12, and that's because you need the intrinsic factor in your stomach to absorb it. And people kind of hammer their alcohol and eat the wrong foods, and they just don't have the stomach lining or the acidity to absorb it.
Injections are good, like B12 injections, because it's faster and absorbed into the bloodstream, and iron injections as well. Like, how do you, can I just ask a question about being a vegan and iron levels?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I know like spinach, I mean I eat a lot of spinach in a smoothie, but someone said, oh well, it's hard to absorb.
Spinach is actually very poor for
Is that
iron.
right? Yeah.
Unfortunately. So when we look at cohort studies, the EPIC study is a really big study in the Mediterranean. And basically, they kind of said, well, America's getting all these diseases. We don't want them. We don't want these diseases. They figure out what people are eating, so we can stop it. So you've got like 30,000, 40,000 people in these studies, and they looked, and they've separated vegans and they've separated vegetarians and meat eaters and semi-meat eaters, and they basically found that vegetarians were no more likely to have iron anemia than meat eaters. The reason being is, firstly, 90%, even on a meat eater's diet, 90% of your iron comes through fruit and veggies. So you basically, and the next thing is non-hem iron, even though it's not as readily absorbed, the absorption changes if you're lower in an iron depleted state. So basically, pretty much all vegetarian foods contain a little bit of iron, with the most iron being in things like chard, silver beet, those really dark greens. Spinach is quite high in iron, but it's very, very high in oxalates, and that stops the absorption. That's why things like silver beet, those really dark leafy greens, are fantastic. But then again, beans contain iron, whole grains contain iron, and having those doses right throughout the day actually allows the body to be quite easily get adequate iron stores. I mean, iron isn't a problem.
Do you find with coffee on iron?
Yes, so coffee, tea contains tannins. So if you're eating, having tannins too close to a meal, that can inhibit the absorption of iron. So if you're iron deficient, you probably shouldn't have a coffee kind of within an hour of each way of a meal. Otherwise, that can basically inhibit the absorption and make you iron deficient. We drink a lot of coffee in New Zealand, which is probably why we have the highest meat consumption, but the highest rate of anemia. Well, one of the highest. So, if you're kind of starting out on a vegan diet, there's a guy called Dr. McGregor, who runs the website nutritionfacts.org, a non-profit organisation, and basically he kind of looks at the majority of nutritional research published, and he basically makes videos summarising it all. So he's kind of summarised kind of the most important things to include in your diet. So kind of 3 servings of beans was his recommendation. Was about 1.5 cups worth of cooked beans. It was about ½ cup of berries, 3 other fruits, crucifix veggies, so like broccoli or cauliflower or Brussels sprouts or something like that. 2 other sorts of veggies of your choice. Flax seeds, that was mainly for the omega-3. Nuts, again, a little bit, 1/4 cup of nuts a day for kind of that monounsaturated fat, polyunsaturated fats, really good. Spices are really, really high in antioxidants. Antioxidants reduce oxidative damage, it causes inflammation. So more antioxidants, the better your body recovers. Whole grains, that's about having enough starch in your diet, enough glycogen to the brain and those constant energy levels. Beverages, stay hydrated. Water is an essential nutrient. If we don't drink enough water, our body becomes a little bit stiff, a little bit jagged. It doesn't quite work so well. We feel tired. So very, very important. And exercise. Daily exercise is crucial. Your body loves to move. We're made to move. It's a million studies showing it's beneficial. Really, really good. And any questions? That's it, Megan.